Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Mahesh Vinayagam with me here today. Mahesh is the CEO and founder of Cubatica and the co-founder and CMO of Just Predict, which recently launched, I believe. Welcome to the show, Mahesh.
Oh, hello. Thank you, Tim, for having me today, and love to have this conversation with you.
Excellent. So we also just found out we're neighbors, which is awesome. Here in the Northwest Valley, which is great. So, can you give us a quick snapshot of those two endeavors or companies, Cubatica and Just Predict?
Absolutely, Tim. So, Cubatica is a business-to-business firm. It helps businesses automate their processes. As you know, like you're talking about AI and AI agents and agentic AI on the news and everywhere. And we have been actually at it for the last 7-8 years. And our name Cubatica is all about creating intelligent bots for companies from small to large companies. That's what it is. Cubatica, automates processes such as customer onboarding, customer relationships, customer servicing, accounts payable, finance and accounting processes, and so on and so forth across the
excellent.
world. We talk about it. And Just Predict is a predictions exchange platform. Predictions exchange has been pretty in the mainstream in the last couple of years. In the recent US elections, Kalshi and Polymarket were in the news. Just Predict is similar to that. So love to again discuss more about it as we go on to this podcast.
Sure. Okay, those are both very interesting. So before we do, let's talk about Cubatica and how that whole industry has grown and changed over the past several years.
Of course, this industry has been there. Automation has been talked about last 20, 30 years. If you think about it, from the days of ERP coming in, helping businesses automate many of their functions from HR to finance, accounting, sales, marketing, procurement, supply chain. A lot of these back-end functions are actually critical to how businesses operate. So they form the core operating processes, if you will.
Right.
And all these softwares were built to kind of really automate some of it. But over time, what has happened is these many sets of softwares coming, there's a lot of broken processes, and these softwares doesn't talk to each other very well. And there were gaps in these processes. So the whole idea about humans not having to do a lot of manual effort was never fulfilled for a long time. And people created big teams and even created like BPO outsourcing industry was really based on that, right? So people in India, Philippines, Eastern Europe, hundreds and thousands of people were employed, millions of people, in fact, they were servicing, performing these processes. And a lot of these processes are very mundane, very repeatable, and SOP oriented. It doesn't require a lot of judgment and all that stuff. So the first genre of automation came in about 10, 15 years ago called robotic process automation. So that addressed the workflows, the simpler processes that are very deterministic. When I say deterministic, it means that you know exactly where it starts, what are the inputs, and where it ends, and what are the paths it can take. If you know all of those different paths a particular process can take, those processes were taken and automated using robotic process automation.
Right.
But that was not enough because all processes are not straightforward. All processes, you don't know exactly which path they're going to take. So there were humans that were still needed to make some judgment, take things, empathetic call. Should I, go forward and waive this fee off? That's a judgment that the human makes at the end of the computer. Also, they also have to follow certain rules before they make that judgment. Yet, so when those things happen, or if they have to read a document, like somebody sending a dispute, you want to read a receipt, a contract, so on and so forth. So it breaks. So it breaks, and they want some more intelligent stuff. So advanced AI techniques and machine learning came in to kind of really read documents, audio, video, make some judgments based on more probability and
Right, more
logistical
information.
stuff. So that's kind of what really the new genre of automation is. So we have now in that genre of automation, which is AI-enabled automation, are now those are actually are being performed as its individual process or systems where it can start on its own, which is called like agents. It is given an objective. In the past it's all about like a calling a routine or calling a program. Now these agents are given a goal, help ensure that this invoice is processed according to the rules, and then it can then determine what it needs to process that invoice, if it needs to go back to the supplier, ask for more information or ask for additional documentation and so on and so forth. So it kind of collects and then it does what it needs to do without having to program a lot. It can kind of self-program itself a little bit to get to the end goal. So that's where we are moving. That's the new type of automation. That's the whole, and that's where we play, Tim.
Has that market share shifted as much as I think, with a lot of people able to make their own bots in a sense now?
Yeah, so the market in the previous the version RPA was very, very narrow within the COO, CFO organization and all that stuff. But with AI agents, the scope is phenomenal. It could be applied across. So I think it has grown multifold at this point. Yes.
Okay, so and how has that impacted Cubatica?
I think right now it impacted very positively, I must admit, Tim, because
really?
In the past I needed to explain it to a set of these folks, and because the scope was narrow, I need to get to that person or that particular department before we could actually make a sale. But now AI agents is everywhere. Everybody can understand it. With the advent of ChatGPT, people are doing what is called vibe coding. They are actually creating stuff so they understand what it means. So for us, while you might think that, hey, if people can do it themselves, why do we need firms like Cubatica that provides automation as a service, which includes like, the building, implementing and hosting the bots? Why do we play? Because we play now because they can only go, vibe coding can go only thus far. It cannot be like, enterprise needed reliability. You can't make a mistake when the customer is on the call, right? Sure. So you need experts. That's kind of where we come in, create really scalable, reliable bots that and we also know we have done it for many customers, including like TPA Composites here, Prudential Insurance, which is one of the world's largest insurance company, and so on and so forth. So they can trust what we have built, Tim. That's kind of helping us a lot.
Okay, so it sounds like the education has increased the market for your product.
Exactly. It is. And also there's a lot of interest now, so people are coming to us. Yeah.
And then there's some people who may be able to do little digital versions and bots and GPTs on their own site or something, but if they want quality, then they still need to go to the experts.
Exactly.
Okay, excellent. That's very cool. Thank you for talking about that. Now, let's please talk about Just Predict. And this is going to be very powerful and I think a very big growing field in the coming decades.
Yes, Tim. I think predictions, has been there as long as the humans existed, I would say, right? So you predict probably the ancient humans would have predicted, okay, how's the weather going to change? Is the
that's kind of one of the things that makes us human. In fact, that came right with our cerebral cortex, right? We had a concept of time.
Exactly. That's right. I think so we all, like, when you're at a lunch conversation or you are watching a cricket game, hey, this is going to happen, you want to bet, right? And you want to talk about it, but then this particular our inherent emotion of having to really think about outcomes, discuss those outcomes, was capitalized by what is called the gambling industry a lot, right? So the gambling
Okay.
industry took
Sure.
that and created all these online places where you actually create betting. But
Right.
betting is not a lot of skill based. It is also, to an extent they game it because the house knows, what is best for them and they can really game it. It's not
Sure.
really peer to peer. But if you think
And
about
in
poker,
sports, they really play off of emotions as well.
exactly. They play off the emotion as well. They just kind of get the fans in and they play off the emotion as well. Um, but but predictions is different. It's like poker, in the casino, right?
Right.
If you think about all others is kind of a game of chance and luck, and you play
Right.
against the house. Poker is a peer-to-peer play, right?
Okay.
So it's really a sport to an extent, right? So where you actually can develop some skills and all that stuff. So here we are actually looking at building like the poker equivalent in the predictions game, or in the predictions outcome based concepts, right? So
Okay.
that's what it is, a peer-to-peer network where Tim thinks that, okay, Knicks are going to win, and then I'm saying no, they're not going to win, and you say that you don't have to say the Knicks are going to win. You can just say Knicks have the chance of winning at 60%, right? So then the other person says, oh, they can win. Their chances is 40%, or things like that. So we actually do matching to people's probabilities, like it's like the trading market, like in the stock market, if you will.
Right.
So in the
Right.
stock market, people actually you put an order to sell your stock at $200. Then there needs to be somebody to buy at $200. Only then it's matched. Similarly, that's the same concept that we are bringing to the prediction market, so that people can actually opposing views can be matched, and as the event outcome comes in, the probability will change,
Right.
and then you can actually exit your position if your probability went from 60% to 80%, and somebody else is actually on the opposite end and ready to buy yours. Then you can actually sell it at that
Yep.
80%. You make the 20% and go off, or you can wait until the outcome is there and get your 60% winnings
Right.
and then come back. So that's kind of what the concept is. So we are very excited because we see Cavshi really made a big wave during the US elections last year. And also like other markets like Polymark and others are breaking it. Robinhood actually started using predictions in their app. So we are very excited. So we want to be creating like a social based app where and we get to really create it ground up. It's not based on any open source algorithms or open source engines. We built the entire engines ground up, and the app was
Okay.
also built by our team, just a team of 3 or 4 people. So we are very excited. It's launched in the App Store and Google Play Store. Just Predict, JUS Predict. There is only one T.
Hmm.
So we would love to kind of really see people start using it. Right now, it's actually based on cricket, which I'm sure in the US, a lot of us are still not got into cricket, but we hope to
Right.
launch
One of my
football.
partners is a big fan. He was telling me all about it when we were at the ballpark last time.
Oh, awesome. Yes. So there is a cricket season right now happening in India. So we kind of launched it to coincide with that
Okay.
because, it's just something that's close to our heart.
Sure.
We want
Sure.
to create that some momentum, but we will be creating mainstream stuff like, predicting albums, what's going to be the number one album, or, box office hits, or so on and so forth,
Sure.
events and so on. So we'll actually do that in the years to come. So we're looking for partners, we're looking for investors. So as we go through that, I'll let you know how it progresses, Tim.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to learning more about it too. This reminds me a little bit of, well, when I was in high school is when I first read it, but Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, right? When they were using math to predict the future, is I think it's called a psychohistory. But it makes me wonder if you're pulling, this might be proprietary, but I think this is kind of a little bit of like why Musk bought Twitter or X for Grok, right? So he has all that data to put into the AI. Can you speak a little bit to how you're sourcing sort of the critical information for these algorithms?
Yeah, it's very interesting, Tim. So Cubatica is all AI and it's kind of really celebrates the machine a lot more.
Okay.
Just Predict at the end, it celebrates the human intelligence. So we are right. We are pretty much harvesting the human premonitions about your
Right.
ability to kind of really think through, because there are experts that might say that, okay, because of these factors this might happen. So this we have still not employed a lot of AI. So in the world of AI, Just Predict is not an AI platform. It is a
Sure, but
human.
you're sourcing data that people are putting out there about their thoughts and beliefs and their opinions, right?
Yes, exactly. So those are like obviously API driven, people that are, we will source it from social networks. We also work with API data providers to get that data around, people's
Okay.
opinions and events. Obviously we need to know, like for example, if you have to do with NFL, then we have to partner with somebody that has the NFL data, because we need to get those data in, and then we can open it to our audience to kind of predict on that data,
Okay.
and that's kind of how it goes.
Okay. I mean, you could probably get transcribed interviews pre-game the week beforehand about the experts on podcasts talking about, player interviews and health reports and stuff. But to your point about gambling, that's got to be some of the biggest indicators as to watching how those numbers change as the event approaches.
Exactly. You're right. I think, so our vision ultimately is this has to be part of social networking platforms, right? So as it has to be right there where Grok is, right? So that's our vision. Let's see. That's probably we are like 3-4 years down the line, Tim.
Okay, very cool. That's fascinating stuff. It's a technological crystal ball in a sense, right? It lets you get a pulse anyway of where common thoughts are leaning anyway,
Exactly. Correct.
if not completely fact based, but it's impressions.
Exactly. You
Interesting.
are right. It's a collection of opinions, collection of uh, common thinking. But the most of the time, if you see, I think if you average common thinking, human thinking has been, pretty strong. They have the best ability to predict things, right? So we are kind of really, we'll average it out to an extent, because now there are going to be opposing parties and all that stuff. So if you see, Calci predicted the outcome of the elections,
Hmm.
all along it was right. Like I think it was almost close, and you have seen that the other polls did some of the polls were absolutely wrong, but these predictions platform very close to what the ultimate results were actually.
Um, you that's interesting because looking at trends and bigger scope things are really, I think, that the most immediate powerful use. Um, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this approach compared to some other ones? For example, some were way off; they got it wrong. Is it because people weren't honest on the phone when they were doing surveys, or right? Can you speak to the strengths and weaknesses of the different approaches?
Correct. I think, see, there it was just a survey. It was given to like very like selected audience and all that stuff.
Right.
Here, this is like you know it's, and also it's a the answers were pretty much do you want to which one, it's one or zero. That's
Yeah.
how kind of the
Yeah.
answers
A or
were.
B.
Exactly. It was A or B, right? So when we are talking about it's in the percentage, what's the probability of winning? I think that's kind of where, what do you think the most can happen? That's one. And the other thing is we are collecting both sides to an extent, right? So, and then we are trying to see how best the opposing views are, and then we are going to come in. So I think that's the whole idea. I think the idea is, and also we could look at multiple angles, not just like a simple event outcome. There are going to be leading steps to it, so we can actually do predictions around what could happen within the game. What could this person do so many yards, whether this person would be in the starting lineup or not,
Right.
what could happen, so I think all put together might actually drive the outcome. So I think the experts will play it much more like a skill here, because like I said, when you're in the conversation, you don't really show off, right? If you're an expert, you want to say, yes, I know that's going to happen, right? So I think
Okay.
we're going to
Right.
bring those people up, those, people that were sitting in the couch thinking that, oh, I knew this was going to happen. Whereas I think we're giving them the avenue about, to kind of really reflect their thoughts. I think that's going to be more important for us.
Okay. Okay. So, you're only as good as the data you have, right?
Exactly.
And so, if you're trying to see who's going to vote for a particular candidate and you're only looking at Instagram data, that's biased for a particular generation, right? And you're only going to get younger demographic info on that, for example. But so with the app, you're allowing people more like, which is still, limited to people who have time to play on the app, but like voting on America's favorite video or whatever, right? People
Exactly.
can log in and express their opinions, and are they all shared through the app, and everybody can see how the trends are for different issues?
Yes, correct. That's how it's
Oh,
going to
interesting.
be, and
Okay.
and there are two aspects of it. Even if the outcome could be, different, right? So if everybody says, like say 80% said, A is going to win, but it happens so that B won. Let's say that,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yet, from a player standpoint, they would play right through that point when, say, the event was today, they would start playing a month from before, and they would start to predict the probability, and they would have changed hands at the sometime. Would have said somebody said like, "Hey, I think 40% they're going to win." Um, sorry, 80%. Yeah, 40% somebody's going to win, and somebody says, "Oh, no, it's actually 80% they're going to win." They can exit their position. They still have won at that point their coins, or maybe in the future we can play money. So that they have actually been playing for the lead up to the event. So they a lot of
Okay.
opinions would have exchanged, trade would have happened between the players before the ultimate outcome comes, and the outcome can keep changing because a month is
Okay.
a long time. Somebody can get injured before a key match and all that
Right.
stuff. So it's going to be very interesting how this is going to pan out. So that's kind of where we are thinking that our platform will allow those emotions to really flow down until the very end.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. And I imagine instead of just what candidate A or B you're interested in, you could say, how likely do you feel that your team will play like this? Or,
Exactly.
okay, excellent. And there's some sort of quality control for abuse in the sense
Yes.
of somebody could make 1,000 accounts through, artificial accounts and have them all voting or something independently. And so
Yeah. So
I
see, I
assume
think.
you've thought of that, but
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. I think that's a good question. So obviously, most of these trading platforms or predictions platforms have an upper limit, and it's all self-imposed, which means that it's not done by regulation or anything like that. But the all other platforms has it because most prediction platform we want to make it like it's like a skill based games. We don't want people to be like gambling and losing their wealth on this is like obviously you want to play and you have to play with a little bit more fun. It's not like, so there's always an upper limit. For example,
sure.
I think some of the top platforms stop at like 20,000 or 10,000 and so on and so forth. You cannot lose more than that ever, one player kind of
Okay.
scenario. That's one piece of it. And then this, like you talked about people having these multiple accounts and all that, it's going to happen, Tim. So we're not going to, you're not going to, like, if somebody takes the effort to do that, but
Right.
they here, it's itself, cleans out certain things because those 1,000 predictions that they make had to be matched, right? There's going to be opposing prediction that needs to come in. So if they just made a prediction, it's not certain that they will continue to play or they will get a winnings out of it unless someone else make an opposing prediction and that gets matched. So that's the key. So if they don't have one, and if there is another bot that's going to come in, it's one player one versus player two, right? It's
I
like
see.
poker.
Okay.
It's all the pot you put in the pot, so it doesn't
Right.
matter. So it's it will all self-correct itself.
Okay. Mahesh, did this come out of a serious gambling endeavor on your part, or how did you start Just Predict?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm not a trader. I'm not a gambler. Obviously I play like for fun. By no means I've never won a poker table. With the strangers ever. So that's not what kind of really pushed us to do this. I think it is just that. But I always think oh, this should happen, right? I am that person that was always never use these avenues to bet on things, because we obviously come from a background where we don't want to lose things on gambling and all that stuff. We came from a middle class
Sure.
working background. We cannot lose a lot of our money on that, so we never gambled a lot. So this is for expert opinions, right? I always think that should have happened. I know this could happen.
Okay.
So I
Well,
wanted,
everybody
obviously.
wants some insight when they're watching any challenge or competition, right?
Correct.
One of the first questions you ask, if it's a boxing match or a Super Bowl or political campaign, you're like, well, okay, well, who's the favorite and why, by how much? Just so you have some context right away you
Exactly.
can,
Right.
that information goes a long way.
Exactly. So this is all insight driven. It's just that, yeah, it's impulse. We want to give the impulse to be used in a very creative way, not to be in a destructive way.
Okay. And so the app is available now?
The app is available. Like I said, it's available for cricket, but we will launch football later this year as well.
Okay. In time for the NFL season?
Yes, in time for NFL season. Hope we get all of our build in place, then we could actually do that.
Okay. So just give a quick little spiel on why customers or users would want to download this and partake.
Yeah, like I said, there are many of us who has insights of games, who are experts in games, and we never had an avenue to express our opinions and also judge if our opinions actually really could have mattered. And here is a platform where you can express your opinions, and you can create value your own opinion in terms of like others matched against others as well. So that's kind of it's like
Okay.
self-evaluating your opinions. That's kind of what it's going to be.
Okay. But this needs to be sort of the challenge, I imagine, is to promote this so they see the value and feel like it's worth following the results and so forth.
Exactly, Tim. It's going to be like a uphill battle for us to promote it, market it, and go mainstream. But I'm
Right.
hoping that we can do that.
Well, I imagine you were, if not already, you're looking into getting affiliates with certain maybe broadcasters or shows who want to be able to put on a little ticker and say, here's what this populace is saying through this app right now, right?
Exactly. As we get our partners on,
Right.
we are going to do that. So that's part of the plan. Influencers, and yes,
Okay. Very
news
cool.
channels, sports channels, and so on. Yes. Thank you.
That's great. Great. Very cool stuff. So you have a lot of neat stuff coming up in the next few months.
Exactly. And Cubatica is also growing very fast, right? So we are like 150 people worldwide. We are helping the organizations create these agents and all that. So I'm busy, kind of really working on this. This is more like a novelty initiative. I have to give it a proper structure to it, but at the same time, Cubatica is it's grown. It's like an adult having adult and a baby to an extent.
Okay.
So the adult obviously needs minimal supervision, but but it is actually doing very well. We have been recognized by the Inc. 5000, Deloitte 500. I've been called a Phoenix
Okay.
Titan, CEO, and so on and so forth. I think very proud to what we are achieving in Cubatica, Tim. So I'm super excited and busy with these two ventures.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great stuff. All right. Thank you, Mahesh. So if people would like to connect with you or learn more about Cubatica or Just Predict, what can they do?
LinkedIn. So I'm a big on LinkedIn. I'm very active. So that's the platform I love. So you could find me, Mahesh Vinayagam. or you can search for Cubatica. Hopefully my profile will show up.
All right. Excellent. Well, everybody, thank you for watching today and listening. Thank you very much, Mahesh Vinayagam. Did I say that right?
That's right. You got
Vinayagam.
it. Tim.
All right. And we appreciate you sharing your story and your insights into success and both those very interesting companies. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Tim. And just because we're neighbors, we should catch up for a coffee soon. Yes.
Absolutely. 100%. All right, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.